joining us, but let's get started. Mary, are we all set with the cable?
They are on, Bill, yes.
Okay, so I will start the meeting. This is the Board of Sewer and Water Commissioners meeting, Monday, May 24th, 2021. Back in March of 2020, the governor issued an order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. As a result, our meeting is being done remotely via Zoom. Any votes that are taken will be taken by roll call. So with that, let's get started. First item, abatements. We have water abatements and sewer abatements, as well as a couple of rebates. Anyone have any questions, concerns? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the abatements?
Make a motion to approve the abatements.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by John. All right, all those in favor? John Hassenjager.
Aye.
Glenn Maffey.
Aye.
John Spillane.
Aye.
And Bill. Aye. So 4-0-0. Mary, I'll sign them and bring them down later today.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, next item is an abatement for 26 Polly Lane. You said that Lisa was going to be, or can Jody cover this, or?
Yep, Lisa's here with us.
Oh, she is, okay.
There you go.
Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Ron.
So this was just because of the transition between Marilyn and myself, and we had a foreclosure in January 2020. The water that was on that property got leaned onto the tax bill, which is now the town of Walpole's tax bill. So I'm asking you to abate it off the town of Walpole's tax bill.
Okay, anyone have any questions?
Does the town own the property? Did we take it in the foreclosure?
Yes, we took official ownership in January of 2020.
And does that go to auction at some point, or what's the process?
Yes, it will. We're most likely going to hopefully auction it next fiscal year. We still have to go through some legal channels to get it all cleared up, but yes.
It's not a ton of money, but is it possible for us to get that money after the proceeds of the auction are realized?
Usually we do that. We do collect.
Okay, so you needed an abatement?
Yes.
All right. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, I would think it would be a deferral or a suspension rather than an abatement. Once there's an abatement, you can't get reimbursed later.
Well, it's on the town of Walpole's tax bill, which we don't pay taxes. See, we could need to abate it as a water lien. It's now leaned onto the tax bill, and that's what I'm requesting, to get it off the tax bill.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, okay.
Okay, any other questions? If not, can I have a motion to approve doing this abatement?
Yeah, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Roll call vote, John Hassenjager.
Aye.
Glenn.
Aye.
John Spillane.
Aye.
And Bill. Aye. Okay, 4-0-0, Mary.
Thank you.
If we need to do anything, do we need some paperwork or something that I'll have to sign?
You could just sign off on that memo, and then I'll get it abated.
All right.
Process.
I'll bring that down, Mary, with that. Okay. Thanks,
you.
Superintendent's report. Bernie?
Good afternoon, everyone. The water technicians, as you know, we started our mandatory water restrictions on the 3rd. The technicians, they're continuing to patrol. They've done a very good job. I'd say they probably have around 20 violators so far that they've contacted. As you all know, it's a warning at first, public education, but they are out there, just to let you know, and we're being vigilant in that respect. Minebrook 3, the last we met, I explained to you that Minebrook 3A, it was down, especially when we were sampling for the PFAS. That's been taken care of. It's been cleaned. The pump column and the motor have been replaced. We've bacteria sampled it. It's going back into service today, and we shall be able to sample that for PFAS when we do our next round of sampling. Probably next week. We have to wait for for some more bottles to come in and so on and so forth. It's a special program from the laboratory. So we're waiting on that as well. Filter number 5 has been sandblasted, and it should be begun to be coated either tomorrow or Wednesday, as well as 6 to be sandblasted as well. So the painting contractor was on site from Wednesday to Friday last week, and so the Delaney filters are being taken care of as we speak. Our distribution crew continue with our grant program, working on the GIS. That's ongoing. There's been no water main breaks since we last met. And over the weekend, we did 3.1 and 3.0 million gallons a day, respectively. I'm working on capital projects for the next build out for the next year and 5 years for both water and sewer. The distribution crews continue to work on maintenance and locations for the upcoming state project on Route 1A. We've been currently working on replacing the meters and the MTUs in the system. Next week, the state's going to relax most of its current policy for COVID. And we find that more customers are making appointments. We're being able to, because everything's softening up, we're getting into places. And so the Mark is doing a very, very good job at starting to get a lot of these meters off the shelf and into people's houses. Also, we have a trial Metron meters. You saw the you saw Mark's presentation for Metron. We have 60 that are being installed in homes right now, and we're gonna give that a whirl and see how those work. And also a representative for Badger meter, which will give you another taste or flavor on what's actually out there, not just the Metron and not just the Mueller. But Badger also has a system, and they will come in front of you at your next convenience. So you just have to let me know when you'd like for that presentation to happen. I can get that scheduled. I've already talked to the sales representative, and that's on the back burner for now. Gorman Rupp, who is the pump supplier for our sewer pump stations, they've placed Leonard and Chandler on its priority list, and they still will not confirm the production dates, but it's just that everything is stacked up because of this COVID, and we're not the only community that's waiting for these things to be built so we can have them placed in. I have a quote for Eleanor, and that for Eleanor Road pump station, and that bid should be going out very, very shortly. As far as the septic facilities, we had talked briefly about increasing numbers. We had a gentleman come in and state his case on where he thought that Robbins Road facility should be opened a little longer during the day. And I did my research. I had talked to Bill a little bit about it, and I spoke to Mike Frischer from the school department, and I also talked to Deputy Chief Kelleher. And I actually today I received 2 letters. They're in support of opening up a half an hour early in the morning, which would be 8 a.m., and closing half an hour later at 2:30 p.m. So the next step would be to go in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals and see if with the letters of support from each entity that we might be able to make that happen. So work's being done on that as well.
We should probably get a vote from the commission
Okay.
requesting that we go with the sewer department go before the ZBA.
Okay. Very good, Mr. Chair. So I only have a few more things. Lead and copper program is going to begin June 1st. And we are also going to begin backflow testing because, like I said, things are being relaxed, and we're going to be able to make appointments again and get those squared away. And with that, Mr. Chairman, if I'm not sure if now is the time to vote on that, or if you'd like to wait till.
No, I think that we can do that. Does anyone have any questions about adding an hour to the facility, a half hour at the beginning and a half hour at the end to increase and hopefully it'll satisfy the hauler. Does anyone have any questions on this?
Oh, I do.
John Spillane.
Who you gonna, how many haulers, different haulers are using that, you know?
I think it's 4. Is it 4, Mary?
Yeah. It's between 4 and 5.
Yes, Bill, between 4 and 5.
Okay. Any other questions?
Do we, do we get any credit for providing those services, from the state or from anybody, for being
We get revenue.
a host community of such a facility?
Pretty much we get revenue, John, just like Bill just stated.
Okay,
Oh,
well, it doesn't help us with the DEP or anybody as far as citizenship or whatever, sharing.
What it does is get you a larger bill from the MWRA.
I get that.
Well,
They should build the declining block method then. But, the other thing would be the chap that came in, I think his name was Orlando.
Yes.
Yes,
Was that what he was at?
yes.
The schedule, he was asking for another hour in the day to give him more flexibility.
He seemed to think that one more hour would definitely work a lot better for he and I think he named 2 other septic haulers that were in agreement.
Could we just check with him to make sure that what we're proposing is going to satisfy the people that had the issue? I don't know what hour or whatever that they were concerned about, whether it was them early in the morning or later in the afternoon or what, but
Well,
it'd be a shame to. I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. No, it'd be a
Okay.
shame to change the schedule and then find out that they really wanted the hour, whatever, earlier in the morning or later in the afternoon or what have you.
well, I think we have constraints, John, because we do there is a school there, so I didn't really want to press. Looking at the 8 o'clock to 2:30, the school department didn't seem to think that would be an issue. I think that if we expanded anything later on in the day, it probably would be as well. So I think that both the school department and the police department have definitely looked at this, and that's a big factor in the additional half and half.
Yeah, I think what you've done is a reasonable response. I mean,
Also,
surface of it, so.
employee.
I'm satisfied with that.
All right.
Sorry, Bill, I'm sorry.
Well, it also works with our employee also in terms of.
Exactly, because we have our parameters as well, because and we discussed that earlier. So
Okay. Any further questions, Glenn?
Yeah, I just had a quick question about what's our net revenue? I don't know if you can answer this, but are we charging the amount that we charge versus how much the MWRA charges us versus our labor?
7 cents a gallon and
7 cents a gallon.
$240,000.
No, I know how much we charge and how much we bring in. I'm just asking how that compares to how much it costs us for MWRA fees, labor. Do we have any net proceeds on that?
Labor and expenses for that facility are roughly $56,000 a year. That does not include any contribution to the MWRA, and that's something possibly that the board could look at later on. But what that'll do is increase that per gallon fee, and it'll somewhat reduce the sewer rate. Not significantly, I wouldn't think, because a portion of that MWRA assessment does include the discharge from the septic facility. So it's a catch-22 type thing, Glenn.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe if there's a change in the rate that would be recommended, I'd be happy to consider it in June when we do our rate considerations. But if it stays the same, that's fine too. But if you want to make a recommendation in June. Yeah.
absolutely, thank you.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to ask that the sewer department apply to the ZBA to extend the hours of the septic facility, half hour at the beginning of the day and a half hour at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I'll
so
second.
All right, got a motion and a second. All those in favor? John Hassenjäger,
Aye.
Glenn Maffey,
Hi.
John Spillane. John?
Hello?
John.
Hello?
Okay, hello, John.
Hi.
Aye, okay, and Bill, aye. So we got a 4-0-0, Mary.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. All right.
That'll do for me, Bill.
Well, Bill, I have one other question for
All
Bernie.
right, John Hessinger, yes.
Bernie, I noticed the last couple of days, there's been some sewer and water equipment commingled with the pole work on Route 1A. And I was curious, there seems to be work going on Cobb's Pond, just north of Stop and Shop, at the culvert there. Are we doing some work there?
That has nothing to do with us, John.
We were there we were there this morning, John. There was the inlet structure was blocked with debris, branches, brush and whatnot. And what it was doing was raising the level of Cobb's Pond to the point where it was flooding into a backyard on Cobb's Pond. And we just simply removed the debris. It was real quick. Took like 15 minutes to do it.
Okay,
I wasn't notified. Okay.
thank you.
Okay, let's get on to comment requests. Number one, memo from the planning board dated May 10th. Does anyone have any comments? Notice this, I think this came before us like a year ago. Looking at some of the dates. Do we have any comments on this for the planning board? Bernie or Rick?
No, I'm in keeping with Commissioner Fasanello's request. I know he likes looping of water mains. The only possible loop I could see there would be through, I think it's Lot 3, over onto Boulder Trail Road. The only issue is that Boulder Trail Road is privately owned. Boulder Trail does have a water main in it. It's currently inactive because the developer never had it tested. So all of those houses up there are on well water right now. So in order to complete that loop, it would have to be activated. So if the board is so inclined, they could ask Shaki El Sarabi to possibly loop it over there, and that would also help the people on Boulder Trail.
All right. Does anyone have any further questions? And if not, we can make that as a suggestion, as our comment.
I would think that's a good idea.
Absolutely.
Patrick did make a point of that. And even if nothing else, an easement, so the sewer and water has the right in the future to make the correct connection when the other street, Boulder Drive, gets, straightened out, what have you.
Okay.
Yeah, we should also make mention, just real quickly, that's a very low pressure zone. So I would imagine these houses aren't going to be small, the houses that they build up there. So we should just make a comment that any issues associated with water pressure would be on the developer as opposed to the town.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we send a note to the planning board requesting that the applicant loop the water line out from Lot 3 to Boulder. And we can also let them know that water pressure is somewhat deficient, and any improvement would be on the developer.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. John Hassenjäger,
Aye.
Glenn Murphy,
Aye.
John Spillane,
Aye.
and Bill, aye. All right, 4-0-0. Next item, this is the Moose Hill condominiums, 8 units, a 40B. It looks like they're just getting their water off of Moose Hill Road. Any comments? And let's see.
I have one bill that stood out right away.
All right, the planning board is looking for comment, or is this the ZBA, or I guess it's just the planner? Okay, Bernie, go ahead.
So basically, if you look at the where this would come off of Moose Hill, right down to the low, if you follow the water line, there's a 90 bend there, and we don't particularly care for 90 bends at all, sir. And also, they show no hydrant at the very end of the project. I'm not 100% sure if the fire department would be in agreement with that, but for flushing purposes and so on and so forth. I know it's not a huge line, but still, it would give us at least a flushing point. So, and I'm not sure if there's any way that they could actually loop this project. So,
Okay, any other questions? If not, we'll make a motion that there is a 90-degree bend connection of the water main to Moose Hill Road that is not acceptable, and that the applicant should see the water superintendent to work out an appropriate connection. Also, there needs to be a hydrant at the end, and the location will let the fire department decide where it works best for them. Is there any
And a loop, if any consideration for a loop, if possible.
if possible.
well, I think if we want to, we'd have to suggest one. It seemed to me didn't seem like any potential way of really looping this, but to me anyways.
No, it doesn't.
All right.
We can leave the loop out for now.
Okay, so I've made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor? John Hassenjager,
Aye.
Glenn Maffey,
Aye.
John Spillane.
Aye.
And Bill, aye. All right. Okay. Get your regular, next item is correspondence. First one is just the monthly revenue numbers. If there's any questions. And the second one is the normally monthly production, water production. The only notice there is that April, we're back to pretty much close to being what the historical average, still below, but it's like 4% below. Any questions on either? Okay. Next item. Discussion, indirect costs. This was something Patrick wanted. I didn't, Patrick's not on the call. Glenn, I think you had said we're in agreement that it should be on the agenda.
Sure. I mean, I think it's Patrick's idea. I'm always happy to take a close look at one of our biggest budget items. If I was going to discuss it, I would want to probably have some details, and if these exist, maybe I can get these at a later time, but some details about where I think it's a $1.2 million, a little bit more, that our indirect costs go to. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but it's just more information.
Well, we have Jody here. The indirect costs are coming from work that it's, first of all, it's part of our effort to have the true cost of water. The cost of operating our water system is not just, having electricity to pump the wells and run the treatment plants and some chemicals, as well as the salaries and expenses. There's a lot of other activity that's required that other town departments provide for us, such as accounting. The collector, treasurer, obviously they're sending out the bills and collecting our money. There's liability insurance, legal, there's things like Medicare, pensions, unemployment, workers' comp. Little bit of the building maintenance as we occupy part of town hall. The engineering provides comments on projects. Vehicle maintenance is another one, and there's insurance and employee benefits.
Yeah, so does it a percentage? Is it a set percentage of each of those, or do I leave it? Oh, go ahead.
Jody.
Bill, if you don't mind, can I talk to this initially?
All right.
Kind of hand off to Jody, because we've done a lot of work on this, and Jody did a lot leading up to this meeting, and I'm disappointed that Pat is not here, because this item was added onto the agenda at his request. I can.
Could I do, hold on a minute. I think it could be that Patrick is the victim of what I was this afternoon, which is there's a power outage and a phone outage.
Okay, I just want to know.
Computer outage in East Walpole.
I want to at least let you guys know we're prepared to talk about this today, and if you want to continue it at the next meeting, that's great. But I do want to just put it on tape, the work that we've put into this. So about 7 years ago, at I think Patrick's request, we looked at our indirect cost, and we really did a formal a deep dig on, how much time is actually spent by the DPW director, the town administrator, the finance department, the billing folks, and we allotted percentages to each department. The sewer and water commissioners had a lot of input. They reviewed everything, and I thought we had a good base going forward. It really hasn't come up since then. And we continue to keep a close eye on it each year. Actually, this year is the first year I can remember that the indirect cost actually dropped a little bit from one year to the other. So, Jody, with that, I'll kind of hand off to you to let the commissioners know where we're at with everything.
But just before Jody, I can show everybody, if I pulled it up. I mean, it's a fairly detailed breakdown of the departments, percentages, actual amounts, and how much is going to water and how much is going to sewer. I've gotten this almost every year. So,
Just one thing for Glenn's clarification. Glenn, even though they're listed as indirect costs, a lot of those costs are direct costs. The insurance, the workman's compensation, the health insurance contributions, and other employee benefits are direct costs. Even though they're all lumped into the indirect costs, so to speak, category, a lot of them are direct costs.
So, Jody?
Yeah, so as Jim was saying, prior to 2017, there were percentages that were applied amongst all the different departments to charge indirect costs to water and sewer. And then in 2017, I think like Jim said, it was Pat who had suggested that we take a look at this, and we spent quite a bit of time with the department heads doing estimates, but also doing actuals, like the vehicles that you're being charged are the vehicles, number of vehicles that you own. The building maintenance expense is based on square footage of the water and sewer area, but also of the common areas. And as you know, probably the idea behind it all is that if you were your own business and didn't have the support of the general fund, these costs would be incurred. So in FY17, like I said, we redid everything. There was quite a big increase. Sometimes it's be careful what you ask for, but there was quite a big increase. And, it's been pretty, it hasn't been increasing all that much over the last few years. Like Jim said, in 2021, we only increased by 0.688%, and that's nothing. And then in 2022, we have a decrease of 1.3%. Okay, but each of the line items that Bill just showed you, there's supporting documentation for each one of those.
I should just make a note that at town meeting, in Article 6, when we vote, all the town meeting members vote for the funding sources. This is where the votes are taken to for these indirect costs, because they are they need, the municipal budget needs revenue to perform these duties. So it's something that we've all voted, all of our town meeting members, and I think all of us are town meeting members, voted for the indirect costs amount.
And there's a mass general law that allows us to do this. All cities and towns are doing the same thing if there's an enterprise fund.
Well, it sounds very thorough. I mean, I didn't ask for it to be put on the agenda, but always happy to talk about, again, one of our bigger expenses. So, I wouldn't mind actually, Bill, if you could share that document with me. We could take a close look at it.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
I think that in listening to Patrick, I think what he was inferring, well, I think he's probably talking as a layman type of view towards this. And I think the layman point of view is the older folks like myself and Bill and John, we were from an era of what they call Proposition 2.5. A lot of people apply that template to the increase, Glenn, of annually of different budgets within the town. That's always been kind of a guidepost, is trying to live within your means or live within the 2.5. And I think what Patrick did is, and that probably isn't a statistical correct way to do it. I think what he did is add the last 10 years up and came up with like, whatever, 47 point something percent divided by 10, and got a 4.7% increase over 10 years instead of 2.5. I think that was the mentality, and I'm not saying that doesn't imply anything necessarily, because obviously the curve of these costs go from 2 to 3 to 11 to 20 to 7, they're all over the place each year. Yeah.
I think my only question is it accurate? How accurate is it? And if it's based on square footage, for example, and the amount of buildings that we occupy in the water department, then that sounds like a pretty accurate measure of that particular expense. And if we take a small piece of the town administrator's salary and pensions and health insurance, and again, I don't know what that percentage is, but somebody has figured out, Bill, you could probably tell me, but there's an exact number there, and it's just accuracy is the goal, and that's what we should look at.
I'm just explaining what I think his question was, but I think if you look at the sheet that Bill has, maybe that'll help you.
I'll send it out to everybody, and some of them are actual numbers, others are estimates, and things like the vehicle maintenance. We got X number of vehicles. We have water and sewer has that portion, so as well as Glenn mentioned square footage. So any other questions?
So
No, I would just say, in the abstract, when people compare these things, they'd say, well, if you join the MWRA, it'd be a fixed cost and this, that, and the other thing. But I think what they don't realize is the advantage, just like Norwood has an advantage by owning its own utility operations. We have that equipment. I think an example probably was that today, what I saw, we had an emergency situation with a blocked culvert or whatever, and we had the right piece of equipment from the sewer and water department that could be right there and take care of it. So if you have the backup equipment and resources and people and the flexibility to use them, actually that it provides a value added beyond the percentages. When you look at, and you just can't look at the raw numbers. And the same thing when you look over the years, I'm sure there was some very unusual thing that happened in 2016 that caused the indirect cost to jump from 3% to 12%. Something happened. I don't know what it was.
Well, Jody can explain that one.
So, so in 2016, we began charging Opeb. So prior to that, we were not charging water and sewer for any Opeb costs. And we started in the general fund, we started budgeting for those costs. So naturally, we would allocate a piece to water and sewer indirect costs. So between Opeb, Norfolk County Retirement, the health insurance, those are really your biggest expenses that you'll see you're being charged. The employee health insurance benefits is based on actual employees, and we apply those rates, to the budgeted rates. And then, pension and Opeb is really right now based on salary allocation. The Opeb, again, is what goes through the budget. I think the commissioners need to realize that there is usually additional money that's allocated at the fall town meeting to the Opeb fund. And we have not been charging that to the sewer and water commissioners or to the sewer and water enterprise funds.
Okay, Jim, I think.
I'm just, in regards to OPEB, Jody, I think each year we budget X amount in OPEB as part of the general operating budget, but I don't believe we go back and hit the sewer and water commissioners up if we put additional funds like we have the last few years from free cash. It just simply comes from free cash. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you don't completely hit the sewer and water department up for all the OPEB contributions each year. It's just the amount that's budgeted, which we could do, but we just haven't done it at this point.
No need to do it.
It's no different than the service that sewer and water provides to the municipal buildings. Each and every municipal building gets a sewer and water bill that they pay.
Right.
And they also pay irrigation bills. So
It goes both ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? If not, I will send everybody a copy of the breakdown that I've been getting, where you can see each of the department items, the percentages, and how, whether it's an actual number and so forth. So, but it's very detailed, and we've had a good explanation. So with that, thanks, Jody, and Jim, for your comments.
No problem,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 2, PFAS reporting update. Bernie?
So we have collected our initial round, except for Minebrook 3A and Washington 4B. We've asked the state, the DEP, to take a look at Washington 4B because 4A and 4B cannot run together. So when we do take samples, they want all of our possible samples that all our wells that are running to be running at the certain time. So we're still waiting for guidance on 4B. However, Minebrook 3A was out of service, being rehabbed and such. So that we'll have to have a confirmatory sample. We did take our confirmatory samples, and just to let you know that the Delaney plant did go down in its part per trillions. It went down from 15.8 originally to 15.0. And we have wells that go anywhere from, I believe 4.68 is the lowest parts per trillion, to we do have one well that's 21.7 parts per trillion.
What
on the
well
Delaney
is that?
side.
What well is that?
Sorry?
Washington 3B was 26.5.
26 point is Washington?
26.5. You're right. 26.5 for Washington 3.
Washington 3.
It's the wells you wouldn't think that you would have a concern with,
Right.
that, you know, a concern. I mean, the Washington 3 wells are pretty well secluded. They sit
Yeah.
back way in the woods. They're not near any
Not near
direct
any-
roadway or anything like that. So this whole sampling thing is, in my opinion, it's bizarre as to the
It is.
results that we're getting.
But do we
The
know
point
what
of the matter is that
Washington
Delaney is at 15 parts right now. The maximum contaminant level is 20.
Yes.
So they're gonna keep us on continuous monitoring until they have enough data to determine what we need to do.
is it?
That's exactly. That's it in a nutshell.
Do we know what Washington 6? I mean, that's where I would have thought.
Washington 6 was like 12.6 or something like that.
So it's like surrounding wells are lower, but somehow Washington 3, which is in the middle of them all.
The 3A and 3B, I believe, were dramatically different,
Huh.
which makes no sense because they're 100 feet apart.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
All right.
I mean, if there's Teflon tape on those sample ports, it's gonna throw your sampling off. And Bernie and the guys have done everything they can to try to prevent that from happening, from getting a false positive, so to speak.
Right.
This whole thing is bizarre. You need to keep into perspective that this is parts per trillion, okay? One part per trillion is equal to one drop of water in an Olympic-sized pool, or 3 Olympic-sized pools.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there was an article in today's Boston Globe that some communities are running into the same problem, and some are over the.
Right. There's actually several communities that are over, and they're going to have to go for treatment because they exceeded the maximum contaminant level. Fortunately for us, we are not in that position, and over at the Minebrooks, we have a lot lower detection limits. So we're just going to continue to sample as the DEP asks us to, and then we'll go forward with our quarterly sampling.
And I did get an email from the state that there is a program and some money available for mitigation type work that.
There is, and
maybe.
I think that's for the communities, Bill, that are over the 20 points per parts per trillion. So we haven't hit that high water mark yet, thankfully, and I don't foresee us doing that. Like I said, like Greg said, when we first originally did this, we did go out because Teflon tape. I mean, a lot of things inside the plants, a lot of things that are inside all these wells have Teflon tape, around them, and could possibly could possibly manipulate the sample, and not in our favor. So what we try to do is we try to mitigate that as much as possible in the sampling and such. So we'll just have to make sure that, that's going to help us. And we also asked DEP for their input on what they thought that Teflon tape was, if that was going to have any impact on this. And they really didn't come back with any type of guidance information at all. So we all know that every plumbing fixture, well, not every plumbing fixture, but just about every plumbing fixture and such has Teflon around it. So it's the dynamics is still out there. It's still shifting and moving. And we're going to keep going with the DEP suggestions.
DEP is absolutely no help in this. The 1 part per trillion I'm getting again is 1 drop of water in 20 Olympic pools. So that's how crazy they're getting with these things. They're getting to the point where they're measuring these things with qualifiers because they don't know how much of the compound is in the water. So whoever the analyst is makes their best guess estimate. They know it's there, but they don't know how much because it's below the level at which the instrument can accurately detect it.
Absolutely.
So it's crazy. I understand it. It's a contaminant of concern, but at 15 parts, I don't see that in the School Meadowbrook. I don't see that increasing. Mine Brook, like Bernie said, is way down. So worst case scenario, you build GAC.
And also, if this continues as well, we all have to understand that PFAS is in so many other different materials. I mean, it's in sandwich bags. I mean, a lot of people use plastic when they go and they microwave their dinners and such. So these compounds, we're measuring for, I believe, 6. There's hundreds of them, and right now it's just it's an imperfect science. It's just the tip of the iceberg, and very thankfully, like Rick said, we're under the MCL for the Delaney, and we're way below the MCL for the Willis. Right. We'll keep going. We'll keep doing what we're required to do, and we just have to keep going in that positive direction.
Right. Of all the PFAS compounds, only 6 are regulated.
Okay. Any further questions?
Yeah, would there be the Washington 3 that's at 26.5? If that continued, would there be any remediation or
I would remediate that well. I would remediate that well by shutting it off.
Right, and basically,
before I would spend the money to treat just that one well.
Yeah,
and I believe that they'll also allow us to we obviously would not run that one well alone because that one well can't feed the plant as it's designed. But in blending, and that's why we have to do a raw water blend every time we do take these samples with each well. We can make sure that if that well is on and up and running, that we can blend that with another well that doesn't have the same high concentration and mitigate that as well.
Is there has the Department of Walpole Department of Health said anything about this? Do they have any concerns about PFAS in Walpole or what it does to kids or people, or is there some educational piece to this, or don't drink the water? I mean, I'm just curious what the...
There's no reason not to drink the water because we're still underneath the maximum contaminant level.
Jim Johnson, you know, is the
health department is involved in this very heavily. I don't know, to what they have for information right now, John. But anything that comes from the DEP to us, the health department, I believe, is CC'd on.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Could we ask them to just give us an interpretation, a layman's interpretation for the consumer as to what this, because people, this has been on the Boston News several times. So people at some point are going to ask us, the commissioners, what about this? It'd be nice to have a little concise informational component of what, you know.
Absolutely.
Maybe
We're
we
still in the
post something
sampling.
on our website there, a layman's understanding of what we're doing.
We do have facts, and we've talked about putting that on the website.
Okay.
There is a fact sheet that's for consumers, so we'll put that on the website as soon as we can, John.
Good.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Discussion item number 3, sewer extension, High Street and Ridge Road area. John, I think you put that on, John Hessneger?
Yeah, I did. We were talking very briefly previously. Rick Mattson was discussing the infrastructure bill and having projects and planning for future sewer areas and so forth. And I just wanted to bring forward a legacy issue that's been out there for quite a while. At one time, for a number of years, I lived up in the North Walpole quadrant up there, abutting Medfield, up in the High Street area. And there's always been an issue there. Those are all those homes there from Heritage, Homeward Lane, Countryside, Ridge, Coach, Hemlock, all those, and High, all those streets are on septics. And that part of town has extremely bad soils for septics. And those homes were built, you know, in the 70s and 80s primarily. So they don't, with the new, if someone has to redo the septic, they're going to be up the creek or, you know, up the hill or whatever you want to say, trying to do it. And we had talked about trying to hook up, extend the sewer at one point from Wagon Road, provide an easement across the town land over to High Street. So those different streets then along either High and Millbrook, if they needed to, would be within a striking distance of a sewer extension. So I thought we had to look at that. What I was just proposing was I guess the permission of the board to explore, have Bernie explore, and maybe the commission members, if they choose, with the town engineering department, where they might locate, you know, easements for the infrastructure. If it comes along, probably would like to hook up that area and make it available to the streets, because I think those would be homes that would opt when their septics are failing to have sewer, and they may not have any options but to go to sewer.
Yeah, I've been looking at our sewer master plan, which is a couple of years old at this point. It was interesting that they prioritize areas, 20 different phases that covered the entire town, and kind of surprised that was areas, particularly as they're older homes and with poor soils, are not some of the high priority areas. Rick, you had mentioned that Production Road, Industrial Road were interested in having sewer extended. They were one of the, I think they were like phase 4 or 5. So I was looking at where the top phases were, the high priority ones would, and what the impact would be in terms of betterments as well as impact on our sewer rate. Currently, our program is that betterments cover 3/4 of the cost, and 1/4 of the cost of any one of these phases is done through increases to our water, not our water, our sewer rate. Hope to be able to have something at a future meeting, just showing as an example of an area, the number of houses that would be connected, what the betterment would be, what the impact on the rate would be. So more to come on that.
Well, I'd be interested in seeing that. Can I ask a question? Is one of the driving forces potentially federal money that we've heard about is coming, but we don't know exactly when and what we're supposed to spend it on? But clearly, I think infrastructure would be a big good, that they would encourage us to spend it on infrastructure. So go ahead, Bernie's got his hand raised.
I just had a conversation with Patrick and because we're doing some capital planning and so on and so forth, that he definitely strongly suggested that we look into that, because he felt that there will be money allocated in those areas for not only sewer but for water as well. So
yeah, water especially. I mean, we have a pipe replacement program and a number of things that are priorities. So so that's good. That would make a lot of sense. I guess one of my questions is, if that 75-25 split exists, would that money go toward lowering, the betterment portion, or perhaps the amount that we take out of retained earnings, or maybe just a little bit of both?
I don't know how that's wrapped up right now.
Yeah, that might be more of a policy question too. I mean, Mr. Chairman, do you have an opinion on that?
Well, let's say the project was for $1 million. The town would borrow the entire $1 million. 250,000 or a quarter of it would be something that would appear as an item on our sewer rate that everybody who's on sewer would pay, and the $750,000 portion would be paid by the betterments of those homes, not that had connected, but that the pipe went by their house, and then individual homes would have to pay an entrance fee to connect to the sewer, as well as, of course, any internal plumbing changes. So the other thing that we should note is that if you ask the DEP, they would say, no, we prefer you don't sewer. Because when you're doing that, you're taking water that came from groundwater, went to your home. On a septic system, it goes right back down into the ground. Here, we'd be sending water out to Boston Harbor, where it's treated and off into the ocean. So
I guess my question, just for clarity on that. So let's say it was $1 million project. Could we decide to take $200,000 out of sewer retained earnings, and then also have another $200,000 in federal grant money? So really, it would be a $600,000 borrowing. Am I understanding that right, as far as ways to go about it?
yeah, and I mean, the betterment, the apportionment of the costs has changed as time has gone on. It was many, many years ago that the sewer came by my house, and at that point there was federal money, state money, and I think there was like a 50-50 deal. Part of it was paid from the property tax, and that long disappeared. So
that was probably back in the 80s, Bill, or
it was.
But that could come back with the infrastructure bill. That's exactly the kind of formula, Glenn, that I would anticipate. It's a big matching. There's going to be matching funds given to the state and also matching funds to the town.
Right.
So there could be 3 matching scenarios there, so that would reduce the cost to everybody, not just the homeowner, but also the sewer and water.
Is sort of the costs that are
the ancient history I don't care about. I'm looking for the new infrastructure bill,
right,
which I think is going to reduce our exposure if we have projects on the, not shovel ready, but projects that are planned and laid out.
Yeah, I agree.
So anyways, and I would say something else along that line that kind of concerns me. On our draft from the DEP, this is classic. The second page from the cover, it gives who gets copies. It goes to Mass Rivers Alliance, 2 people at Mass Rivers Alliance, the Ponce River Watershed, Department of Conservation Recreation Office, Department of Conservation Recreation and Water Resource Department. These are all like NGO entities that don't live in Walpole. They got nothing to do with Walpole, and they have no elected responsibility where voters can get rid of them if they have lousy policies. These are just consultants and citizen groups who are trying to oversee and tell us about how much water we can have and how much we can use. And it's the same thing with the sewer. I just want to point that out, and I'm going to be pointing that out at different future meetings for the public, that, there's quite a bias towards activist groups who want to tell everybody how to do everything, how much water you can't use, and if you can use your toilet or not, and who's going to do what. And
unfortunately,
obviously,
John,
continuing here.
Unfortunately, John, those groups that you just described are the exact same groups that are going to appeal that permit.
Right. Yeah.
during the 30-day comment period that we spoke about earlier,
I know.
because they don't believe that it's stringent enough.
Yep.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
what's their credibility to believe? They don't live in our town, they know nothing about our growth or development or anything else. They're just anti whatever. They want to have their little river, and if we all die of thirst, so be it.
Well, unfortunately, that's what we've evolved to, so the DEP listens to them, and they do carry big hammers.
They have, there are stakeholders in it, just anybody in the public can comment, and they're part of that comment. And as Rick has mentioned, they will be commenting, and
Absolutely.
and the Charles River Water Association, they have money to hire hydrologists, and so it won't be just somebody saying. They will have comments that will have to be addressed. So
Right.
When they do these things to create water shortages and high expenses to the public, and people can have lawns to water, et cetera, it's important to be able to bring to the public, let them know that these groups are the groups that are forcing towns like Walpole to go, like Canton, to go join the NWRA instead of continuing to have their own community water department and have any control over their own destiny and their own government of their own town. It all sounds good, but these are omnipotent people. I was a university professor, and I know how stupid they are. They're not as intelligent as they think they are.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
yes, Glenn.
This reminded me, I meant to ask the superintendent if we have an update, because I know that our gallons per capita use is a driving factor in our permit, and whether more stringent restrictions are required of us. So, I mean, and with the goal is 65. So I guess two questions is, where do we fall on that, 65 on a 12-month average, and then the unaccounted for water needs to be at 10%. So do you have an update on accounted for water and the 65 per capita?
As of the 2020 report, Glenn, we were at 65 gallons per capita per day, and we were 10.6 for unaccounted for water at that time. So
and that's 12 months average?
Yes, it's January to December.
And when is that recalculated? Once per year or every month?
Yeah, that's done for the annual statistical report that's due in April every year.
So we are not at the 10% unaccounted for water for 2020?
Not for this year. We weren't, Glenn, we were just over it a bit.
Okay, and so what does that mean, I guess, is my next
Previous
question.
years, we were in the 6 and 7% range for unaccounted for water. And when you look at that 65 gallons per day per capita, we've I've seen numbers in like around 70, and we've also been below 65. We seem to, go back and forth, and it may be you have a wet year and people aren't using as much irrigation, and that may be playing a role in making it or not. So.
Both of those standards, Glenn, I believe, are two.
Yes.
You meet them 2 out of the 3 years consecutive.
Oh, 2 out of 3. That's right.
Yeah.
You're correct. Okay.
So if the only thing that it'll do, I think, is require us to do additional work in terms of calculating the numbers that we use when we submit, and also digging deeper into where the water actually goes and exactly when it goes there. So there are certain criteria that we'll need to meet, but I don't think it'll ultimately affect the permitted volume.
Yeah, almost done.
What it may affect is how often that we are allowed to use water outside, from 2 maybe down to 1. I think with these new apartment buildings, they are going to use less water than a typical homeowner. So they actually, as they get occupied, it may help us in that end.
It'll help us in the 65.
For water, it's really chasing down all those unaccounted for sources and turning them into accounted for sources.
Yeah, I think that's a good goal, is to stay under 10%. I think everybody shares that goal, but just wanted to say that.
Okay. That's the last item on our agenda. John Spillane,
Motion adjourned.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, John Hassenjager,
Aye.
John Spillane,
Aye.
Glenn,
Aye.
and Bill, aye. All right, and good luck there, Glenn, on your, this is your last sewer and water meeting as a commissioner.
I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you, Glenn. It's been a pleasure.
All the
All right.
best, you guys.
thanks, everybody. Oh,
Okay.
one item, we're planning to have our annual rate hearing on June 21st, that meeting. So Mary, you'll schedule, get it posted up for us.
And that will be the next meeting, Bill?
Pardon me?
That will be the next.
That'll be our next meeting, right? Okay,
Okay, will do.
okay, thanks, everybody.
Bill, hang on for a minute.
All right.